John, we've just gone through, it's not a year now. We're talking about, we calculated it. When my guys got back together to play music again, it had been 16 months since we had all been in the same room. We did some virtual stuff for people, but to be in the same room. You have a business. You've got multiple businesses. Explain the stress that was put on businesses this last year and a half. Because people, you're a business owner. I mean, you're known as obviously a singer, entertainer, but you run a business.
Yeah, I do. So, we all understood, especially in the beginning, which I'm just going to remind everybody, remember when the announcement of COVID-19 came across the news and we're all seeing it for the first time. The images they were showing us, Jay, was images from China of people dropping dead in the street in hazmat suits on the sidewalks and bodies getting loaded onto flatbed trucks. And that's our first thing that we saw, which scared everyone to death, including me, including all of us.
Look, you got the president, then President Trump, concerned too. They were telling him there'd be 2.5 million Americans killed. So
we're like, if that's what it is, then we'll do whatever we got to do to keep everybody safe. Okay, so that's how it started. If you'll notice, we never saw those images again past March.
Yeah.
You never saw anybody else dropping dead in the streets of COVID-19, so that's suspect to me in the beginning. But it put us into such a mindset of fear in this country that we were all willing to do whatever we needed to do. But then here's where it got really hard to deal with. When you have, for instance, like the mayor of Nashville telling business owners, I own a big bar downtown in Nashville. He said, restaurants that serve liquor can stay open, but bars that serve food have to close.
Yeah, I mean, think of, or my favorite, which there's a great example of ridiculous, or churches, religious institutions were told this. Will allow you to have when they allowed you to have in-person, initially no, it would be 25% of your capacity of your worship center or 25 people, whichever is less. So you could have a 5,000-seat worship center, which are churches in this area, believe me, that do have that kind of, but you could have 25 people. None of that made sense. But yet that was the mindset. Now, the rebound, though, I want to give hope to people. I always like to give hope. The rebound has been incredible. The pent-up, the people are ready to reopen America.
They are back. So we, at my business downtown, Redneck Riviera is what it's called. We are bouncing our numbers now off of 2019 numbers.
Yeah, because 2020
was a zero.
Yeah.
And we're up like 63% right now, year over year, day by day. You put the days back to back. People are out in force. Like you said, the pent-up demand, I think they're glad that they can finally get out and be a normal American again.
Right.
I never like that phrase, new normal. There's no new normal. There's just normal.
Right.
And we're going back to that. So it is good to see Nashville filling up.
One of the things that has me concerned, I'm hearing from business owners all over the country, and especially in areas that are known for, and Nashville, of course, has a big tourist community, a lot of tourists coming in, but also a big populace. But like in Florida, what I'm hearing is, and North Carolina, I saw this just yesterday, outside of Asheville, North Carolina, a town called Waynesville, beautiful town, restaurant that's been there for 65 years, could not open yesterday because they cannot get help. Now, they can't get help in part because the government's been sending out checks that are kind of depressing the ability of people to work. And that has been a problem, too.
It's incentivizing them to stay home, basically.
But I said yesterday to my wife, I said, this is socialism. This is how socialism starts. You incentivize people to not have incentive.
Yeah, I mean, you give them no reason to want to go work or strive or chase the American dream or pursue happiness. But the one thing they're forgetting is that the government can never give you as much as you can earn on your own.
Right.
They're only going to give you enough to barely get by, whatever they consider getting by is. You go out on your own and you go work, you're going to smoke that number if you go out and work. So to take that bait and swallow it, that's a dangerous thing for Americans to do.
Unfortunately, it has happened, and what's happening is, especially to small businesses, and this is the thing that concerns me, is these well-established small businesses. I think this restaurant, John, had been in business since 1954, which is 2 years old, 67 years. They have been there. And the end result of that is they can't open yesterday. Now, hopefully, I haven't looked today to see if they're open. But this building in a disincentive to work is what this administration seems to be bent on doing right now.
Well, we used to say, they're all a bunch of socialists, right? We used to say that, and they'd go, oh, go back to the basement and put your tinfoil hat back on, John. No, they're not. They just think differently than you. And now we don't have to accuse them of being socialists because they are
Well, they say it.
They're like, we're all about socialism. We might even be from more than what socialism is, which is moving in on the C word. So it's definitely dangerous what they're trying to put into play, and I hope Americans don't accept it.
The idea that socialism is an accepted norm, I mean, I would never believe in a day, you said the C word, communism. My grandparents fled the Soviet Union. They were Russian. The revolution happened. They were targeted because of their faith. Their entire communities were wiped out, and they left to come to the land of freedom. They came in legally. It took my grandfather 14 years to get his citizenship. Mm-hmm. Amanda, my daughter-in-law, found my grandfather's certificate of citizenship, signed by a U.S. District Court judge in Brooklyn, New York, online somewhere, and blew it up. Sam Sekulow, there it is. Took him 14 years to become a citizen, and the rest is history in a sense. I mean, and I'm only the second generation of my family born in the United States. But we've got this mindset right now that anything goes, no parameters, and, just give. And I am all for, I'm all for working with incentives. I think that's that's what capitalism is. And I think employers have an obligation to share that with their employees. I think that's part of how we should do it. But I don't want the government telling me how to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with what's going on right now. Rahm Emanuel famously said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's exactly what they're doing right now.
The story of your family coming over, I speak to people, too, that have come here as immigrants. Their parents were. And they say there's this Eastern European guy who's a great contractor here in Nashville that I hire all the time to do stuff. He's got the heavy accent and everything. Yep. It took him 11 years to become a citizen. Right. And he says, John, the problem is Americans have never gone without what they have. They don't understand what it's actually like to live in a communist or socialist country. And the problem is if it ever goes there, there's no reversing that. That's why we don't stay in our home countries hoping someday it's going to change, because it ain't going to change. And if it ever happens in America, we're stuck with it.
That's why you call it the country of origin, but it's not the country of destination. My family's country of origin was Russia. Their country of destination, the United States of America.